all over our state, all over our country that probably pay attention to politics maybe for a few minutes a year. And I know you're fully ingrained because you really care about what's going on. So first question I'd ask you, because this is my first opportunity to be back out in Ohio. We had a week of recess. I've been in D.C. Monday through Friday since January 3rd. Are you happy with your federal government over the last 62 days? All right. We're bringing back something called common sense, right? For example, people should come into the country legally. But if you're a Venezuelan gang member, murderer, rapist, we're going to deport you. Does that make sense? We're going to make energy here in America, not depend on other countries. That's common sense. Look, think about this. President Trump took office about 62 days ago, and the border is now completely secure. Completely secure. We went from 350,000 border crossings a month, to 8,000 a month. You haven't seen the numbers for March yet. I don't want to get ahead of the announcement, but let me just say it's probably going to be about 5,000. There's Border Patrol zones like Del Rio that was seeing 11,000 border crossings a month that this month may not even see 100. So think about this for a second. What changed? President of the United States. We actually have a president that's enforcing our laws. If you remember in my campaign, Sherrod Brown would say, well, the Republicans didn't pass the bill. That's why the border was a problem. We didn't need a bill. That was my Sherrod Brown impression, by the way. We didn't need a new bill. We needed a new president. We got that done. But I also want to remind everybody, with the euphoria of having won the House and the Senate and the White House, we got to remember what could have been last year. In July of last year, President Trump is not far from here in Butler, Pennsylvania. Imagine what our country would be like today if he hadn't turned his head. Imagine where we would be as a nation. And then on November 5th, the American people used their head and rejected Kamala Harris and Tim Walz and put Donald J. Trump back in the White House. Are you happy about that? All right. So I want to talk about three quick things, and I'm going to introduce our main guest here. Number one, you hear a lot of nonsense in the media. If any of you read the Cleveland Plain Dealer, I'm so sorry. 98% of what you read there is complete garbage. We're not, meaning we, the Republicans, are not gutting Medicaid. We're not gutting Medicaid. What we're going to do is make certain we get rid of the waste, fraud, and abuse. We're going to give the states the ability to put in some form of work requirement that the states will manage. And then we're going to figure out ways to make Medicaid more efficient through technology. That's it. If you're reading in a paper that Republicans want to gut it and cut it by 50%, which is some of the things that's been reported, total and complete nonsense. And I'm going to tell you why, and I'll move on to point number two. How many of you have heard of USAID? Raise your hand. All right, so the budget of the entire state of Ohio is $40 billion a year. That's how much we were giving USAID. $40 billion a year. Now, I was in the car business, as Greg said, so we had something called disclosure requirements. So if you had an agency that was called U.S. Aid, where would you think that money was going? To the U.S., right? It wasn't called foreign country aid. It was called U.S. Aid. So I'm going to introduce a bill next week. You're the first to hear about this, because here's what's crazy. That $40 billion budget number is still in our budget, even though President Trump has taken action and moved some pieces and parts around. That appropriation for that $40 billion still exists in our budget today, right through the end of September. So what I'm going to introduce next week in the United States Senate is a bill that says that if that money is to be spent, it's going to be spent to help Americans in America. We're actually going to put the U.S. back in USAID. We have thousands, hundreds of thousands of Ohioans that don't have access to fresh water, don't have access to sewer systems, don't have access to high-speed internet. And yet I'm going to say we're going to send billions of dollars to foreign countries to build their infrastructure, to build their roads? Hell no. I'm sorry to say it that way. Absolutely not. When we're fixed ourselves, then we can fix somebody else. I was on a plane this morning. You know what they tell you? Put on your mask before helping others. So we're going to put on our mask. We're going to take care of America and Americans before we even think about taking care of foreign countries with our taxpayer dollars. The last thing I want to do here is talk about a little bit why I think we were able to beat Sherrod Brown. Think about this for a second. Sherrod Brown won 18 of 19 elections. The only election he lost prior to November 5th, by the way, he's never called me, never conceded, closed all of his offices, and closed all of his constituent cases, and left a total mess for us to clean up. This guy was very bitter. But you know where he went? Where do good liberals go when they're upset? He went to Harvard for a year to study at the Institute of Politics. Can you believe that? Actually, you probably can't believe that. Anyway, the way we beat that guy, so think about that, won 18 of 19 elections, had been in office for 50 years, had almost 100% name ID. When I launched my campaign, my name ID was 4%. Now, they may seem like a lot. That was with a 4% margin of error. So there was a chance nobody in Ohio knew who I was. But here's how we beat him. It's very simple. We had a fully united Republican Party. We had a party that was laser focused on making certain we had one target. We were going to defeat, finally, Sherrod Brown. The entirety of the party made that happen. It wasn't me. It wasn't my team. It wasn't our ads. It was a total collaboration between everybody in the Republican Party. And what was the result? He only got 46% of the vote. Think about that. In the prior election, he had got almost 55% of the vote. So tonight, I want you to join me in endorsing Vivek Ramaswamy to be our next governor. Others who might be thinking about running or in the race are good people. Don't get me wrong. They're good people. But we can't take any chances. We have no idea how much money is going to be spent because think about that. Next year we have a governor's race, a Senate race, and we have one last Democrat on the Ohio Supreme Court to take down. We need everybody rowing in the same direction. Let's not have any Republican on Republican crime. Right? We want all Republicans fully supportive of Vivek. And here's what I do know. I've known Vivek for quite a bit of time. He's somebody who doesn't need to do this. He's got a great life. He's got little kids at home. He's got an amazing wife. He's a super successful business guy. For him to step up, to serve our state, to make our state the envy of the other 49, it takes a man with integrity, a man who is willing to put in the work. This is not a guy who's going to campaign out of Columbus and maybe go to one or two events. He's everywhere, every corner of Ohio. If you're willing to put in the work like that as a candidate, he's going to put that work like that as a governor. So join me in welcoming the next governor of the state of Ohio, Vivek Ramaswamy.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Look at that.
Round of applause for Bernie Moreno right here. Woo. Great U.S. Senator, rising star in Washington, D.C. He's making us proud. Thank you, Bernie.
Thank you,
and the endorsement means a lot to me. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you, guys. It's great to be here. I'll tell you, we did it last year, didn't we? Sent Donald Trump to the White House and a majority in the U.S. Senate with Bernie Moreno. I'm so proud of him. We traveled across this state to send him across the finish line because it was time to clean house in Washington, D.C. He's one of these senators who's bringing entrepreneurship to the U.S. Senate, which I know that might sound like an oxymoron, but actually he's doing a fantastic job of it. I'm incredibly proud of Bernie, and his endorsement tonight means a lot to me because this is a time for unity in the Republican Party. This is not a time for messing around. In the future of our country, we get this opportunity once in a generation. Now it's up to us to step up and actually seize the moment ahead of us. President Trump is doing his job. He's clearing the deck in Washington, D.C., getting rid of the deadweight bureaucracy. It's a beautiful thing to watch. But this isn't a one-man job. It's not going to just be done at the federal level. The center of gravity of politics is moving down to the states and to the people. We're seeing that every week. It's a beautiful thing to see. See the shutdown of the U.S. Department of Education. Anybody see that this week? The U.S. Department of Education is on its way to the dustbins of U.S. history, which is where it belongs, okay? But that means that education policy has to rest somewhere. Where does it go? It comes to our shoulders now at the level of the states and the people. The golden age for the future of the United States of America will be a golden age for federalism. That's the way our founding fathers wanted it. Education policy to healthcare policy. It's not Washington, D.C. anymore. It's back to the states and to the people where it belongs. That's what the nation was founded on. And we're about to revive it. And we here in Ohio, we're not just going to be passive bystanders watching this, whereas other states, say Texas or Florida, great states, well-run states, by the way, as they lead the way. No. Things are changing in the next decade in the country, with Ohio being the state that now leads the way back to greatness. Donald Trump is reviving our conviction in America. We need a leader here at home who revives our conviction in the state of Ohio. And that is why last month I declared my candidacy to be the next governor of a great state at the heart of the greatest nation known to the history of mankind, the state where I was born and raised, the state where my wife, Apurva, and I are raising our two sons today. Last month, I declared my candidacy to be the next governor of the state of Ohio, and we will lead our state back to greatness where we belong. Thank you. Thank you. And I want Tusk to hear me loud and clear when I say this. I'm not running to be the mayor of Central Ohio. I'm running to be the governor of all of Ohio. And the success in this journey over the next decade will be lifting up every part of this state with us. We're going to be ambitious. One of the things I love about our state, the character of Ohio. I actually did an interview. It aired on Fox yesterday with Will Cain. Any of you see that? A few of you did. Thank you. More people saw that than I expected to. He asked me, first question out of the gate, I wasn't ready for it, but I thought about it for a second. He said, I'll tell you what the character of Texas is. That's where he's from. He said, what's the character of Ohio? How would you describe Ohio at its core? I had to think about it. Here's what I told him. I said, Ohio embodies more than any other state in the Union a unique combination of humility and ambition. Both of those things. Those are two attributes where you usually don't think they go together, right? How can you be humble and ambitious at the same time? We're humble in that we're grounded. We're based in who we really are. We don't take ourselves too seriously, even as we take what we do seriously. But we're also ambitious. That's our heritage. That's our history as a state. The state that sent Neil Armstrong and John Glenn to the outer frontiers of outer space. The state where kids grew up in the state to say, you know what, I grew up in Ohio, but I'm going to be the first person to walk on the moon. I'm going to be the first American to go in orbit in outer space. I'm one of the Wright brothers growing up in Dayton, Ohio, thinking, you know what, you see just cars driving around. No. Those are going to be different flying objects, the machines of the future, taking our people into the skies. It takes gumption to have that level of ambition, but to still be humble in the process. That's our character here in Ohio. It's who we've always been, and that's the way I want to lead our state to our future. I don't want Ohio to be just one of the better states in the Midwest, which is, to give credit where credit is due, that is what we are. The job ahead is in California. We don't have to do a U-turn here. We're mostly doing things actually the right way in the scheme of things. But I don't want Ohio to just be one of the better states in the Midwest. I want to lead Ohio to be the best state in the country to raise a young family, to give your kids a world-class education, to start and grow a new business, to generate wealth and keep it without having to apologize for it. The state where we teach our kids not to be victims, but to be victors in a competitive global economy, where we embrace capitalism and meritocracy without apologizing for it, where we take a hatchet job to red tape, government overregulation, government overgrowth, bureaucracy, and overspending with pride because we put that money back in the pockets of our own citizens and our own residents. The state where we chase the sectors of the future, from AI to semiconductors to aerospace. I will lead Ohio to become the state of excellence in the United States of America. The state where patriots across this country who share our values will flock to, not just Florida or Texas, but right here to the home state of Ohio. I'll tell you, those are those who will say that's unrealistic. How could Ohio be that state? Well, it wasn't long ago that Ohio was that state in America. A lot of young people on the internet today, they make fun of Ohio with an expression. If they see something old or outdated or out of touch, they have an expression, they'll say, only in Ohio. It kind of irritates me, actually, when I see it. You know? Well, we're chasing the future now. We're changing things. Ohio was the state of excellence. We can be that state again because in the first industrial revolution, at the turn of the last century, you want to know what? We were the wealthiest state in the United States of America. We were the third most populous state in the Union. People were moving in rather than moving out. An economic powerhouse for the entire country. The same fertile farmland we had today, we had back then. The same natural resources underneath our ground. We were at the leading edge of that first industrial revolution. Even in the 1950s. Wasn't that long ago. In the 1950s, 6 of the top 15 wealthiest cities in America were right here in our home state of Ohio. Think about that. Toledo was the glass capital of the world. Akron was the rubber capital. Youngstown and Cleveland led the way in steel production. Dayton was the computing power capital that powered the entire industrial revolution. My hometown of Cincinnati, where I was born and raised, was known around the world as the Queen City, the consumer products capital of the world. Known around the United States as Porkopolis, providing the food supply chain. We were the pioneers, the explorers, the unafraid, the people who no bureaucracy or no government would dare stop from achieving the maximum of our God-given potential. Yes, the state of Neil Armstrong and John Glenn and the Wright brothers. We were the state of excellence in America. And we can be that state again, because if you think about it, we have the same gifts that we did the first time around and then some. The same fertile farmland, not far from where we are right now. The same natural resources, including oil and gas, underneath our own ground, not far from where we are right now. The same hardworking population with a culture of pushing the outer boundaries of the frontier of our nation. We were a frontier state before there was one. Even today, 60% of North America's population, not just America's population, 60% of North America's population is within a single day's driving distance of where we are right now. God has blessed our state with every gift we could wish for to be the state that leads America's revival. All we have to do is to start believing in ourselves again to actually do it. We're in the middle of a second industrial revolution right now. From AI data centers to new forms of energy to a manufacturing boom that I believe is on its way to this country starting under Donald Trump's second term right now. We're on our way back to greatness. And you know what? If Silicon Valley led the way for the last 10 years, then we will lead Ohio to lead the way for the next 10 years as the center of the American economy. It may not be the sectors of the past, not all of them. It may not be rubber production next time around. But it's going to be the sectors of the future. It's going to be semiconductor production, nuclear energy to every form of energy production in our state, biotech to Bitcoin to our defense industrial base, the state where we use AI not to take jobs but to make jobs through workforce training and education. This is a moment for our modern-day Northwest Ordinance right here at the center of the country. And there's a fear being this ambitious. We're a conservative state, I'll say that with pride, and we deserve it to be governed like one. That's what you're going to get with me as your next governor. We've often had a legislature that is quite conservative. We deserve a governor to match that. But the fear sometimes is, is that going to lose us elections? No, no, no. That is going to win us elections because it's going to put more money in your pocket. It's going to lift up more people from poverty. It's going to revive that missing civic pride in our young people and in the next generation. It's going to lift up every Ohioan in a way that actually takes many of our neighbors who may be Democrats or independents and help discover that they were the same type of Ohioan who shares the same type of values with us. It's up to us now to stand up for what is right and what is true, to be ambitious. And I personally believe that is going to take a new generation of leadership at the top in our state. A governor with fresh legs who's going to run through any obstacle that stands in the way. Thank you very much, and we will do that. We're going to build on the foundation of the people who came before us, respect their accomplishments, but go even further. There are going to be some changes that we require in the state, and we're going to make them. We're going to become, under my watch, a zero-income tax state. It is your money, not the government's, and you deserve to keep what you earn. If 8 other states have gotten this done, I'll tell you this, the state that put a man on the moon can figure this one out. We got the likes of Christina Rogner right here in the state legislature. She's got a great plan. She's already laid it out. Why don't you stand up? It's been fantastic. Running for state treasurer. You going to help me get us to zero income tax, Christina? We're going to make it happen, all right? It's not just the income taxes. It's the property taxes as well that have gotten way too high in our state. It's burdening so many Ohioans. It's not only too high, it is unjustly high, and here's why. When you own your land, right? This is the American dream at its core. What was the country founded on? John Locke's principles. In Thomas Jefferson's Declaration of Independence, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The pursuit of happiness was drawn from John Locke, who said the pursuit of life, liberty, and property the first time around. When you own your land, it should feel like you actually own your land. Well, the truth is, for a lot of people in the state of Ohio right now, it sure doesn't feel that way. When you're paying as much in property taxes as you are on the interest repayments and the principal payments on your mortgage, it sure starts to feel like the land you own is a lease from the government. That's not right. It's un-American, and it's antithetical to our own values here in Ohio, and we're going to bring those down immediately when I am your next governor. We're going to do it. Thank you. I'll take that. Thank you. Thank you. We're going to take every bit of government bureaucracy, overregulation, and tame that. For every new regulation they try to put up on the books when I'm your next governor, we're going to require they at least rescind at least 10 other regulations along the way, because we need to get the government out of the way of production in our state. I want to be the state where we stand for law enforcement to actually be able to do their jobs. Where's our law enforcement tonight? Thank you, guys. Sheriff, thank you. Thank you, Sheriff. I want to give you a round of applause. And it's a good man in the community right here. You run a great department. Thank you very much. Actually, I also want to take this moment to thank our boots-on-the-ground Bikers for Trump. Earned their endorsement. These guys are traveling around the state with me. I appreciate you guys. We got a batch that drove out from Cincinnati tonight that are driving their cycles around the state over the course of this campaign. I'm grateful to you guys. But you're in this for the same reason I am. We want to lead Ohio back to greatness. I want this to be the state where we build. State where you can build more homes, where you can build a house without fear. The state where you can build a family, where you can build and generate wealth. You can build in manufacturing, where we can build energy pipelines, where we can actually build power plants in a way that we haven't to prepare for the boom of the future. Build, build, build right here in Ohio by getting the government out of the way, on our way to energy dominance, to manufacturing dominance, to AI dominance. This isn't just about elevating our GDP numbers. This is about a vital improvement to our economic and social fabric as a state. So we're no longer a place where little league teams have to shut down because they can't find a local company to sponsor them. The state where a mom doesn't have to think twice before having that second or third or fourth kid for fear of the cost of a new stroller or buying a bigger car. The state where every parent has that bone-deep conviction that their kids will go on to live an even better life than they did. That if you play by the rules and you work hard, you get to have a good, honorable, dignified life right here in the state of Ohio. We will make our state the cradle of the American dream as we lead our entire region, frankly, back to greatness. Out with the Rust Belt, in with the Platinum Belt, right here in Ohio. It's within our power to do it. But to get there, there's also one critical element that we're going to have to achieve for the country. It's great that President Trump shut down the Department of Education. I applaud him for it. It's the right first step. You give him a round of applause this week. He doesn't care about the criticism. He did the right thing, and that's the right first step. But to fix the problem now, we have a real crisis still ahead of us. And I don't use that word lightly. It is the crisis of educational achievement across our entire country. I want to speak some hard truths here. This is uncomfortable to hear. But if you care about somebody, you don't just tell them what they want to hear. You tell them the truth. That's what I'm going to give you right now. Right now, 75% of 8th graders are not proficient in math in the United States. 70% of them are not proficient in reading. I applaud President Trump. He made English the national language of the United States of America. That's a great thing. But there are now kids in other countries where English isn't even their first language, doing better on English proficiency than our own kids right here. Kids in China are 4 full grades ahead on academic achievement of an adjusted kid in the United States. That means a 7th grader here is the equivalent of a 3rd grader in China when it comes to academic performance. That's unacceptable. Speaking as a parent, as an Ohioan, as an American, I refuse to just sit and stand by idly watching China laughing at our gradual decay into oblivion. No, that's not going to happen. We're going to turn this ship around for the country, starting right here in the state of Ohio. A revival of educational excellence for our kids and their generation. We owe that to them. As your next governor, I'm going to lead Ohio to be the top state in the country and in the world, to give our kids a world-class education in math, reading, writing, critical thinking, physical education. We're going to do it by, in some places, playing catch-up with other states where they've done things well. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. We're going to take our school choice programs to the next level, like states like Arizona and Iowa have admirably done, including homeschooling as a viable option for parents who desire it. Every child deserves the best possible education for them. And that belongs to the parent to be able to be empowered to make that decision for their kids. But we are also going to be the state that leads the way in making sure that our public schools are equipped to compete with the best of the alternatives. And here I expect Ohio, under our watch, to set a standard for the rest of the country. The shining city on a hill still shines. We will be the beam of light at its apex when it comes to education. We're going to take our dedicated base of police officers and law enforcement and make sure that we have at least one of them in every school in our state with the proper training needed to be there to protect our children so our children can be safe in our schools. We're going to bring back the empowerment of teachers and principals to actually bring an appropriate level of discipline that we're missing in so many of our public schools in the cities. End that culture of fear and stand for what's right for our kids. That includes bringing back a culture of discipline in our schools. We got to make sure our kids show up to schools. And I'll make this pledge as your next governor. Never again will we bend the knee to a cheap Anthony Fauci knockoff who allowed our public schools to be shuttered while the private schools remain open. She owes our kids an apology and better come nowhere near to the levers of power in this state again. We're going to stand for the achievement of our students in every domain, from the sports fields to the classroom, excellence in every domain where every kid is able to achieve the maximum of his and her own potential. That's what the American dream is about. That's what our schools ought to give our kids. And to that end, I've laid out one of the areas where I want to see not only our state improve, but our country improve. We've got to ask ourselves, talk about the American dream. Right? I've lived the American dream. My parents came here with nothing 45 years ago. I've gone on to found multiple successful companies. Did it while marrying my wife, Apurva, who's a successful throat cancer surgeon herself at the Cancer Hospital in Columbus, Ohio. her parents came here with nothing. We've lived the American dream. That's a great thing. But when we think about the American dream, it's not just, Donald Trump's lived the American dream. Elon Musk has lived the American dream. Bernie Moreno has lived the American dream. I've lived the American dream. But let's take a step back and ask ourselves, can a good public school teacher actually live the American dream today? I'm not sure the answer to that question is an easy yes anymore. And I think they should be able to. And the way we're going to get there in the state of Ohio is through merit-based compensation for every teacher, every principal, every superintendent, and every administrator. Because the best teachers deserve to be paid more. My 6th grade teacher, Ms. Kinney, she changed my life. She saw potential in me that I didn't know I had in myself. She lit a fire under my feet, made sure I worked harder to realize that potential. I lived the American dream because of her. We need more teachers like Mrs. Kinney, but we're not attracting the very best unless we're paying the very best what they deserve to be paid, but that means that we got to cut a lot of the excess bureaucracy and waste along the way to get there. That's what we owe our kids, so they can excel in math, reading, writing. Don't forget about physical education, too. We're going to bring back PE at an early age, starting in kindergarten. We're going to bring back the presidential fitness test, including the pull-ups. I did mine this morning, I promise. And that doesn't mean it's going to be everybody who passes that, but it sets a standard, because the best way to have a healthier population in the long run is to start with a healthier population in the first place. We save on health costs that way in the long run as well. We should not apologize for what is right, what is true, what is good for our kids. Frankly, these aren't even Republican or Democrat ideas. They shouldn't be. These are American ideals for our kids and the next generation that, frankly, people of every political party, even those who are apolitical, those who are politically homeless, ought to embrace. Get the cell phones out of the classroom. It's not doing any good for our kids right there. Stand for the mental health of the next generation as well. I'll close with this tonight, is that when I think about that next generation, what I see is a vacuum of purpose and meaning and identity at a time in our national history when the things that used to fill that void, faith in God, patriotism, belief in country, hard work, have in so much of the country all but disappeared. We got to fill that void with the real thing. Under the 4 Biden years we had a 25% recruitment deficit in our U.S. military. Less than 16% of Gen Z said they were even proud to be American. We are hungry to be part of something bigger than ourselves, and yet so many young people can't even anymore answer what it means to be an American in our own country. We're going to fix that in part through the policies we set. Revive civic education in our state at every level. Replace woke indoctrination and victimhood psychology with actual U.S. history lessons, with actual U.S. civics lessons that teach kids to be proud of our country and our state, rather than ashamed of it. We're going to require that every high school senior who graduates from an Ohio public school will have to pass the same civics test that every legal immigrant has to pass before they become naturalized in our country. You got to know something about your country to be proud of your country, to love your country, and we will. I've lived the American dream, but I recognize that my path cannot be the only path either. I want our state to also offer the best possible path to every son and daughter of Ohio who wants to become an electrician or a welder or a carpenter or a mechanic or a builder, to live the American dream with dignity where every path is open to every child, with earn-while-you-learn programs as early as high school, without having to be saddled with 4-year college debt just to be able to pursue the American dream through a profession. I don't call them the trades. I call them professions, because that is what they are, deserving the same degree of dignity and respect as every young man and woman who wants to become a lawyer or a banker or a doctor or an entrepreneur. It's not that one of these paths is more or less elite than the other. And if it is elite, that's not bad either. They're all elite. Because in the state of Ohio, we're the place where every path is open to every child. That's what the true American dream is about. That's what a true meritocracy is about. A nation that recognizes that every one of us has our own unique God-given gift. It's not the same as the person sitting next to you. It's not the same as your neighbor. It's distinct from every other person in the world. And we are the country where you get to make the most of your own God-given gifts without any government standing in your way. That is what made America great the first time, and that is how we will make Ohio great again. Our metrics for success, thank you. It's not just our GDP growth. The American dream is not just about green pieces of paper. It is about reviving conviction in our purpose as citizens. My true metrics for success as your next governor are going to be the number of people who move into our state versus out, the number of children born into families in our state. And yes, the nuclear family is the greatest form of governance known to mankind. We're not going to apologize for that. I got a note. I don't know if he's still here. He gave this to me. Eric, are you still Eric Frederickson? Where are you? Eric, you want to stand up? Can I read to them what you wrote me? Eric told me. He said he prayed to God earlier today for a message to deliver to me. And God gave him a message that he wrote down and shared with me today, and we prayed together over it right before dinner. May I read that message, Eric? God bless America, it begins. If you will make the nuclear family your focus when you win, it will catapult your career beyond your dreams. Empower them, bless them, and help them. And I will make Ephesians 3:20 come about in your career. Signed, the Lord. Thank you for that message, Eric. I appreciate that. That was a beautiful message for me tonight. I won't forget it. He said, one thing, stand for the nuclear family, and we will. And the one thing I want to do for the kids who grow up in those nuclear families in Ohio is I have a dream that those kids actually stay here in Ohio to pursue their American dream to the maximum of their potential, that they don't have to go to another state. Frankly, I grew up in this state till 18. I went to another state. I came back to raise my kids here because I don't want my kids to have to go to another state to pursue their version of the American dream. I want them to do it right here in our own home state of Ohio, where we tell every son and daughter of Ohio tonight that the American dream is your birthright. A world-class education is your birthright. Success is your birthright. Freedom is your heritage, and excellence is your destiny. This is not a small vision for our state. It's an ambitious vision. Humble but ambitious, because that's who we really are as Ohioans and as Americans. We're not victims, we're victors. We don't whine, we win. That is how we're going to take our state back. I will fight for you every day that I'm your next governor. I'm visiting all 88 counties this year. I will visit all 88 counties next year. I'll visit all 88 counties every one of the 8 years that I serve as your next governor. The campaign doesn't end when the campaign ends. The campaign ends because we got to continue persuading the other people of the state, even the protesters who are outside tonight. We want to bring them along too with us. I promise you, we actually invited them in to have and join us for the discussion, that we would hear them out if they wanted to be heard. They didn't accept our invitation tonight, but I'm hopeful at some point in this campaign they will, because I'm not just in this to lead the Republican Party. I'm in this to lead the entire state of Ohio. I don't care whether you're Republican, Democrat, independent, politically homeless, an orphaned Reagan Democrat, a libertarian, or something in between. If you care about educational excellence and economic excellence for your kids, if you want your kids to have the same shot at the American dream that this country and this state gave to me, then you know what? We're actually on the same team. And we will have a seat for you at the table in this movement. We're going to work with you to take our state to new heights that we have never dreamed of before. Even those who run against me, if they have good ideas and they're willing to work with me to take our state to the next level, we're going to give them a seat at the table too. That's what we deserve in our leaders. It's not about me. It's not about even about Bernie Moreno. It's not about any one of us. It's about the people who we actually serve. And I believe that 10 years from now, when our state is once again sending the outer frontiers of outer space, let's just say manned rockets to Mars by then, curing previously incurable forms of genetic diseases, even powering our electric grid with the energy of the future. You know what young kids are going to say then? Only in Ohio. Our state's best days are still yet ahead of us. Keep fighting for our state and our country,
It is a fight worth winning. Fight, fight, fight until the end. We will look our kids in the eye and mean it when we tell them that you get ahead in the United States of America and you get ahead in the state of Ohio with your own hard work, your own commitment, your own dedication, and that you know what? You are free to speak your mind at every step of the way, whether it's in this auditorium or out. That is the American dream. That is what we are running to, and with your help, that is what we will revive in our own home state. Thank you for coming here tonight, guys. God bless you and your families, and may God bless our United States of America and our great state of Ohio. Keep fighting, guys, and we're going to fight for you. Thank you. God bless. Thank you.
I would invite Miss Melanie Miller to the stage. And while she's coming up,